Okay, so hey guys, let's start. So today I've come up with a really interesting document that many of you would prefer to look at because the this is the examiner report for June 2018. So the latest I can find, I was not able to find the one for the October 18 yet because perhaps it hasn't. Oh well, it has to be released by now. Maybe I didn't get it. I downloaded it at the wrong time. Maybe the site I was looking at didn't have it. Anyhow. So, but this is more or less the same. They pretty much give you the same thing all the time, which shows that students never ever read these reports. Well, I do read all reports, so because it really helps you to see. So you see, it's mainly for teachers, but if students use some teacher material, it's actually good for our students. Okay, so let's look at the key messages, what they are trying to tell you, what they observed, which problem they observed the most on the whole paper. Okay, so first of all, candidates are encouraged to record all their raw data. So this is what's important. You must record all your raw data, which means that, what does that mean actually? It means that you must, whatever data, whatever measurement you make, you just write it down in a column. Let's say you are asked to measure an angle, but you need the sign of that angle to proceed with the experiment. Do not just write down sine theta. You first need to do not just record sine theta. Record the theta and then sine theta. Okay? Show this clearly and not just take the final mean value. It means that show all your raw data. They are mainly focusing on where you're asked to measure two values. You ask the average, for example, two values of length, two length values. Okay, so if they're asking you to measure two length values and use the average, so make sure you write down both the length values so that they can see what is your range. Did you obtain within plus minus 1 of the average value? Are you plus minus 0.5? Are you plus minus 1020? If you're plus minus 1020, they'll cut off your marks. But if you don't write it at all, fearing that if they cut off my marks, they may or may not give you any marks at all. Okay, because you didn't write your steps. It may show that you are copying from someone else. That's why you have to write steps for an answer, any answer. It may look like you're copying from someone else. That too, practical papers are marked very carefully because, well, like 5 or 10 people do it together. Okay, so without any further ado, let's look at the second point. Candidates need to practice plotting and reading of graphs accurately. Okay, means that some candidates drew the graph correct but failed to record the gradient correctly. So that is quite important. So in question 2, you're always, no, not question 2, question 1. Let's open a practical paper and actually have a look. So this is a practical paper. Where's the practical paper? Yeah, so in a practical paper, like this one, it's just for a short time. So in question 1, you always have a graph regardless of which practical paper you look at, and they always ask you to get the gradient and y-intercept. So basically they are telling you that you need to know how to draw graphs accurately. Okay, graph scale should be chosen so that the plotted points occupy at least half. So graph grid, so they will give you a grid. Make sure your plotted points are half. Don't just make it in one corner and leave the rest of the place just like that. But this should not be achieved by selecting an awkward scale. So okay, they're asking you fill more than half the graph, but do not choose some abnormal scale which is very hard to read. Like choose 1 to 2, 1:1, 1:2, 1:5, 1:10, and so on. But do not choose something like 1:7, 1:22. Just random number 1:13. Do not take something like that. It becomes very complicated to answer. Okay, it's worth double checking the plotting, especially when a point appears to be anomalous. Okay, they mean that okay, when you draw a graph, make sure that all the points it will not happen like this. Okay, let me start from the beginning, from the very beginning. Is it worth double checking? It's worth double checking the plotting, especially when a point appears to be anomalous. Means that if you see a point that is above or below the place where it's supposed to be, then you just immediately recheck whether your points are correct, because more or less it should fall on the same point. Okay, you must be able to draw your line of best fit easily. It's if you see it's difficult, or if you see it turns like a curve, then you can better check the point which are most outside your supposed line. Okay, if you find that it's a perfect curve, then just draw a line of best fit. It doesn't mean that all your points are wrong. Okay, many candidates find it difficult to draw lines of best fit. Okay, to practice and develop this skill, candidate might find it helpful to draw a straight line on transparent plastic sheet and use it as an overlay, sliding or rotating it to find the line of best fit. So basically means that you use your ruler and then you move it and then you turn it round on the graph paper so that you can see what's the best fit. They could also draw lines of best fit for data on a graph paper and then use a computer to draw the line of best fit and compare the two. A transparent 30 centimeter ruler and a sharp pencil are essential. First of all, you'll say that you are not allowed to take a computer or a plastic sheet with a line into the exam room. But the truth is, they're asking you to do before the exam. They're asking you to finish it off before the exam, and then make sure that in the exam you will know whether your best fit is correct or not. That's by experience. To be successful answering question 2, candidates should be reminded that their identified limitations and suggestions must be focused on a particular experiment. So basically means that, let's say you did an experiment using a pendulum. You must be focused on the pendulum. Do not write everything that you look in your textbook. Right? General points such as avoid parallax error or more precise measuring instruments will not usually gain credit. So this is very important. You will not gain credit. So basically means if you write that, they will chop off your marks. They will not give you any marks. Yes, it may be correct, but write something more precise. Write something more closer. This one anyone can write without looking at the experiment. Without doing the experiment actually, candidates should be encouraged to write about 4 different problems and consequently 4 different solutions to address these problems, and should not try to state 4 solutions to the same problem. Basically means that, let me show you one. Where did it go? No. Yeah, here. This one. So we'll look at that document later. I actually shortened it from the syllabus. I did a lot of study. Okay, first I want to show you a model. Ooh. Yeah. Okay, these are all. Okay, so first of all, here are the limitations for the experiment. So I did the one where you have to balance a wooden strip on a pivot. So I wrote down all the problems. You do not need to know anything about the experiment. Let me just explain. The pivot is balanced on a tall thin wooden block and is unsteady. Just imagine you have this problem where you have to balance a wooden block on something that looks like a prism, and is, or maybe wait. You have to balance a small glass prism on a block of wood. You try to imagine this, and there's no way of attachment. You don't tape, you don't put in plasticine or other kinds of glue material or anything, you will notice that it's unsteady and will keep slipping, right? So you must write a problem for two. So for one, there's a special thing, I'll tell you about that later. For example, two is this problem, right? So for question, for part 13, no, not for part 13, for the last part, we have to say the improvements. Here you stated the problem 2, right? Here it's better if you state improvement for problem 2. So you see, use a wooden block with a larger cross-sectional area, put blue tack or other gluing materials. Oh. Basically, I'm asking you to make sure it sticks on there. It doesn't just leave. Okay? Okay, general comments. Okay, there was no evidence that centers had any difficulties providing the experimental equipment required for use. It was clear that most centers work hard to provide the equipment specified in the confidential instructions. Center will require to provide stands, bosses, and clamps. It would be helpful if centers would ensure that all stands, bosses, and clamps are tightened up so that they grip well. These are for the teachers, for the persons who arrange your apparatus. It's not you, definitely. Any deviation between the requested equipment and provided to the candidates must be written down in supervisor report, and this report must be sent with the scripts to Cambridge so that the examiner can take this into consideration when marking. No extra equipment should be available to candidates. In some cases, this may disadvantage candidates. Okay, so this means that they are not supposed, they may give you different equipment than the one Cambridge stated. And they will have to write this in the supervisor's report that by mistake, or because it was not available, or because of some valid reason, they are not able to provide you with the actual required syllabus and they provided you with a different one. Okay? No extra equipment should be available to the candidates, which means that the examiner or the supervisor is not supposed to give you everything. Let's say a stopwatch is not asked for, but he still gives you a stopwatch. Okay, you want a stopwatch, is it? Let's say he says that you want a stopwatch, is it? Okay, I'll just give you a stopwatch, although it's not required. So in some cases, this may disadvantage candidates. This means that they may confuse the candidate to thinking that, okay, maybe the timer or the stopwatch is part of the experiment. Written somewhere. So you look through the whole experiment paper, look through the whole question paper thrice. Cannot mention, there's no mention of a timer. Then what do you think you should do? You can't do anything. Successful answers show that any help should not be given to the candidate. Most people think practical is easy because help is given. Basically, help is given to arrange the apparatus, not for anything else. So recording of results, graphical work, analysis will not help you. No one will help you. You better help yourself. Successful answers show that the apparatus has been used well and there have been many very good answers. Both questions were normally attempted and there seemed to be a shortage of time, and there did not seem to be a shortage of time in most cases. Weaker answers showed that determining a periodic time was difficult. Good practical skills were demonstrated in the generation and handling of data, but could be improving by giving more thought. Okay, comments on specific questions. 1. Okay, stronger candidates correctly noted a length D, which was in the appropriate note. Okay, so you must observe for full credit, candidate needed to provide a correct unit. At the total time. Okay, so first thing, whenever they ask you to measure the period of something, you measure the time taken for 10 oscillations or 20 oscillations and then measure the time for 1. It was common for weaker candidates to measure the period by timing single oscillation. Means if you do one oscillation and try to measure the time, it's very hard. Okay, it increases the percentage error by a large amount. Successful candidates gave new values for S and T following adjustment of the apparatus. Strong candidates recorded 5 sets of readings and included raw values of time along with periodic times T. Okay, this is okay. These are all simple. These are all stupid mistakes. Okay, the one that is really hard is the F or the G part. So question 2 is designed to have challenges while taking measurements. Okay. Often there is other apparatus that could be used to ensure more accurate reading. Successful answers using limitations. Basically, they get you to go through the hard way, and then you have to find out what's the easy way. Okay. So that's all for it. I'm not sure how long this video went. It went for a few minutes, I guess, few long minutes. But these can more or less help you for some last tips before the exam. And of course, good luck for exams.